House resumes and debate continue. Yes, Honorable Luge, you can proceed.
Mr. Speaker, under the due diligence phase, D31, we see an expenditure of $5.9 million paid by the government of Dominica. In the national budget, $87.2 million was budgeted in 2020-2021. But this amount was exhausted. $87.2 million plus $5.9 million, that's $93 million, Mr. Speaker. While we see this budget busting due diligence expenditure for the Citizenship by Investment Program, Dominicans and parliamentary opposition is very concerned that the proceeds of passports, specifically of MMC, is not held in our national treasury where every cent can be accounted for. Someday soon, Mr. Speaker, we will get full transparency, full accounting, and where there is found to be abuse and diversion of our national birthright, persons will be held liable. Mr. Speaker, we are left to speculate, and justifiably so, as to how billions of dollars is held in unknown escrow accounts, only God knows where. Is it 2 billion, Mr. Speaker? Is it 3 billion? Or is it 5 billion? The due diligence expenses under the CBI was overspent by $5.9 million on top of the 87.2, as I said. I would like to know when we'll be informed of the revenues for the same period. Mr. Speaker, we see our passports being peddled by Prime Minister Skerrit in terrorist hotspots. What are we doing, Mr. Speaker? We see passport agents being promoted in terrorist hotspots. What's that? What do you want me to withdraw? I withdraw peddle, and I say promoted in terrorist hotspots. What are we doing, Mr. Speaker?
If that statement is going to be made, Mr. Speaker.
We see passport agents.
On a point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah?
Mr. Speaker, if any of us members in this House, or honorable members as we are supposed to be, are going to make such accusations, they need to found them in fact. You can't claim, simply make a statement.
We see passport agents on the corners of streets in Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, selling our birthright like hot bread to the lowest bidder. Mr. Speaker, I have a very serious concern that expenses related, D34, Mr. Speaker, stop picking on me. Stop picking on me. Stop picking on me. Not because you were defeated in Rosenau. Stop picking on me. Let me make my presentation. I haven't said anything that's erroneous. I haven't said anything that's erroneous. So stop picking on me. Yes, yes. That's why you can't be speaker. A mistake to have your speaker. That's correct. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Hear your tone. Hear your tone, Mr. Speaker. Hear your tone. Hear your tone, Mr. Speaker.
To continue your debate, but do not take the angle of imputing improper motive on Parliament.
D34, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have a very serious concern that expenses related to the international airport cannot be found on a separate head in the supplementary appropriations. What we see is an effort to intertwine the expenses, hence making it almost impossible to follow the dollar trail for international airport expenses. I hope the audit department can help unravel the airport web of hidden transactions.
Again, member, again, by saying hidden transaction, this is the last warning. If you persist, I will have to ask you to take your seat. You see, and that's what you have to understand. We have rules. And before I proceed, let me read
what
the rule.
rule I'm breaking when I say hidden expenses? What rule? What rule I'm breaking by saying hidden expenses? If it is not clear in the supplementary appropriation and it's not under a separate heading, I have to point that out. I have to point that out. I'm not breaking any rule.
So, Honorable Member,
on me.
Rule 44.6 says, Rule 44.6 says, it's not me. Hear what it says. No member shall, not may, shall impute improper motives to any member of the House or indulge in personalities except on a substantive motion moved for the purpose. I am telling you.
To who did I impute improper motives?
You are imputing the entire House.
No, the rule says to any member.
So
to which member did I impute improper
you are
motive?
imputing improper motive to the entire membership of the government, the executive branch.
Make the rules. Make the rules.
No, I'm telling you. So
D34,
proceed. If you try to move in this direction, I'll ask you to take your seat.
D34. Scattered here and there in the 2020-21 supplementary appropriation is near $15 million spent on acquiring properties for use of supposedly international airport. What is the realistic budget figure and total cost of construction for the international airport? And where are all the relevant studies to underpin an accurate cost estimate? In which bank account is that money located? Why is MMC, a passport agent, handpicking contractors? This is massive conflict of interest and disrespectful of Parliament and the people of Dominica. Have our tender laws been abandoned by this government? Modern resilient housing development. Under that head, D34 again, Mr. Speaker. The experts in the ministry, they quote, among budgeted has proven to be insufficient. Mr. Speaker, who is doing these estimates? A $31.2 million shortfall, or is this deliberate under budgeting? $56.8 million was not enough. New Marigot Hospital, $37.8 million above budget. Original estimates, $15 million. Again, the experts in the ministry, they quote, proven to be insufficient, says your technicians. Modern resilient health centers, overspend of $26.9 million. Original budget, $5.4 million. All of these multi-million-dollar projects, grossly under budgeted. Is this the handiwork of a serial amateur mismanager? Mr. Speaker, this is a recurring, well-thought-out, quote-unquote, miscalculation of multi-million-dollar magnitude, $96 million in what your technicians describe as, quote, the amount budgeted has proven to be insufficient, unquote. All pointing to one offender who seems untouchable by our Ministry of Finance. This one offender is not accountable to this Parliament. Not even members of Cabinet are aware of these financing irregularities, and I hope that this changes sooner rather than
yes.
later.
Yes. 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 Your mic. Your mic. Your mic. Your mic. Your mic. Your mic.
No. I didn't say it was any public servant. That's not. No. I didn't call any public servant. No. I didn't say. I didn't. Mr. Speaker, you see what he's trying to do? January to June, D38, National Employment and Mentorship Program. January to June 2021, that is 6 months, $20 million above and beyond that which was in the estimates. Let's prorate for the rest of the year, July to December. That would add up to $40+ million above the $9.5 million budgeted for that year. In 2020, just for 3 months of October to December, a total of $6.6 million over and above what was placed in the estimate was spent. I'm calling for a full investigation by the Audit Department of the National Employment and Mentorship Program. The 52 electricity charges. Mr. Speaker, I seek early clarification from you as to whether Mercury Building in Mount Daniel is the Prime Minister's residence. The record reads, payment for electricity consumption for July and November 2020. That's 2 months electricity bills, and another 2 months April and May 2021. Mr. Speaker, do we have a military base up there hidden under the mansion? $5,434,399. That is the electricity charges for the Prime Minister's mansion or Mercury building.
Member, based on what is written there, you are completely erroneous. There's nothing like electricity charges there.
Like what?
Electricity charges. I have not seen anywhere saying electricity charges.
You haven't seen it? Well, look for it. Look for it, Mr. Speaker. You will find it. Look for it. Look for it. Look for it because it's there. You all will try your best, but it's there. Even a blind man, Stevie Wonder, can see it. Can I continue, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, continue.
You still don't see it, Mr. Speaker?
Continue.
Oh, okay, thank you. D52. Then something very strange is placed alongside the Mercury building, electricity bill, which is Penville and Vacre street lights. And to top it off, Mont Daniel underground electricity project. Another apparent effort to use the word bamboozle or to confuse. Mercury building electricity bill mixed with underground electricity project mixed with lamps, Vacres, and Penville. But the one common denominator is Prime Minister Skerrit. Mr. Speaker, $5.4 million swallowed up in 4 months of electricity bills and underground electricity project in and around Prime Minister Skerrit's mansion at Mont Daniel. Mr. Skerrit, this is not your personal property. Is this not your personal property? And if it is not, why is the state footing the bill for underground electricity project? And further, are you not receiving $64,000 monthly for expenses for that mansion? I again call on the Audit Department and the Integrity Commission to investigate these excesses. Mr. Speaker, is that on a point of order? I haven't yielded, you know.
Yes, you have to.
Is that on a point of order?
You have to say, a point of order, you have to say. Yes.
Q44, modern, resilient.
Honorable Luge, the minister is on his feet.
What's the point of order, Mr. Speaker?
So you're standing on a point of clarification.
He don't know.
Yes.
He don't know why he's standing. Yeah. You don't know why you're standing. Mr. Speaker, that is not a point of order. That is not a point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. No. Yeah. But yes. So member, put off your mic a sec.
What's that?
Your mic.
You want my mic off?
Yeah. Okay. The honorable minister is correct because let me tell you why. The matter of debate is the supplementary estimate. You are trying to imply. Remember, this honorable house, this house, voted and approved a budget, but you are coming to ask a question on something that you were part of that was approved. So you know the answer to the question you are asking. So you are also trying to mislead the parliament by asking a question which was discussed, debated, distilled in parliament and approved, which is the house for the prime minister residence. And to add insult to injury, when I was looking at your trend, listening to your trend of argument, you did not even say the Honorable Prime Minister. Again, this morning, I said according to the standing order, we have to refer to people by their position, Honorable Minister, by this designation. So again, your whole approach is wrong. So, no, the senator, hold on, the Senator, John Finn, spoke this morning. And there was minimal intervention by me.
I'm an experienced parliamentarian. If I have to, you must allow me to scrutinize deeply what is in there and what is behind it. Okay? I'm an experienced
Member, you could be experienced doing the wrong thing. No, but you cannot. But you before you continue. Yes, before you continue, I am just drawing your attention to the rule standing order which involves the imputing of improper motive. So you cannot deliberately impute improper motive on the Prime Minister and not even calling him Prime Minister. You're calling him Mr. Skerrit. So it is deliberate. No. Honorable, yes, you have to do it right. So you can continue. Last time, if you try to improve or move in the direction of imputing improper motive, okay.
discomfort because my microscope is beaming close to all the figures and what's happening in there. Q44, modern resilient community centers.
So 10 more minutes.
I don't need all that. That's okay. Nobody don't stand to ask for more time for me. The national budget of 2020-2021, the total voted $4.5 million. Quadruple this expenditure to cost overruns of $17,078,169. How is it possible to estimate a project at a cost of $4.5 million, then a few months later just casually report to the parliament that the true cost is 4 times higher? Again, Mr. Speaker, I call on the audit department to investigate whether these exorbitant cost overruns are justified, legal, and can be truly accounted for as legitimate spending. Y'all can.
Yes, Minister, you have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to offer commendation, to express gratitude, and to give my support to the supplementary appropriations for July 2020 to June 2021. Mr. Speaker, I wish on behalf of the constituents of the Castle Bruce constituency to express thanks to the government for the works that are ongoing in the constituency presently. Some of the major works are the DVRP road project. Work is progressing well. Mr. Speaker, all farmers whose land were acquired were paid before the project began. If anyone has not received money, it must be because of some document hold-up, but I'm sure the funds are available. Over $2 million was paid out to farmers. Mr. Speaker, the work would not have begun if all the farmers were not settled. However, as the work progresses, it becomes necessary to acquire a little more land in certain areas. I am sure the 1 or 2 farmers who fall under this category as the work progresses will be paid soon. We owe 17 farmers for crop compensation, and they will get their money soon. The regional disaster shelter and the shelter operation and storeroom are nearing completion. Be still. Be still. Our modern cassava processing plant is 99% complete. The BNTF projects at the secondary school is completed, and equipment will be installed as soon as they arrived on island. Work on the upgrading of the Census Health Center is ongoing. Work has commenced on a climate-resilient modern building which will house 3 classrooms at the Cassibru Secondary School. The reinstatement of the Good Hope to Sansover Road is progressing well. As a matter of fact, people are already using the road. We are indeed elated and will be forever grateful. Mr. Speaker, who want to go on as if they are blind, that is up to them. But the Cassibru's constituency is well taken care of by their government and their parliamentary representative. But then again, none is as blind as those who wish not to see. I also wish to extend immense gratitude to the Cassibru's health team for the manner in which they have handled the recent COVID-19 surge in the district. You have done well. I continue to extend my love, support, and prayer to all the people of the Cassibru's constituency who contracted COVID-19. Let us remain hopeful. Let us remain strong. We will get through this together. Mr. Speaker, we thank the government for the NEP program, which spends $136,576.50 monthly in the Cassibru's constituency for payment of persons employed under the program. I also highly commend the work of our youth officer, Mrs. Nikki Daru and Ms. Indura Durand, for ensuring that our young people enroll and complete in the numerous programs offered under the Youth Skills Program. I wish to commend the efforts of this government under the leadership of the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit for the attention and the efforts we have made to ensure that our students are engaged in meaningful learning activities while schools remain closed. Over 3,890 learning devices were distributed to students within the past month. I also would like to thank all the officials of the Ministry of Education, the principals and teachers at all our schools for their efforts and commitment to our students. And of course, to our parents for your support in all we do. We also express our deepest gratitude to the organizations, donors, and individuals who are playing a part in ensuring that our students have devices and access to internet. Mr. Speaker, I am honored to be able to join my colleagues on this side of the House to give my support to the supplementary appropriation. I am also honored to be part of an administration that understands that whether it is about respect, self-dependency, a higher position in society and professional environment, financial security and family stability, education provides all of these and more. This Labour Party administration, through the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence, is striving to become more responsive by providing citizens with education that prepares them to participate in the national, regional, and global economy. Mr. Speaker, this government offers scholarships, grants, and other incentives to encourage our young people to attain tertiary education. However, several parents and students access student loans. The government is committed to support as many persons as possible in their quest to attain higher learning qualifications. In this regard, the total amount of $4,187,038.83 represents the 40% debt relief under the Student Loan Facility Assistance Program announced by the Prime Minister in November 2018. The supplementary appropriation to this initiative of $4,109,639.44 facilitated payments to financial institutions for the 40% student loan debt relief. The 176 beneficiaries should consider this as an investment and use it well. We were touched by the number of thank you messages received from individuals who benefited from this initiative. Mr. Speaker, I express gratitude on behalf of the 6 beneficiaries of this program from the Casibros constituency. Mr. Speaker, the Dominican Labour Party's Manifesto 2019 Dynamic Dominica, a new season of development, articulated our Prime Minister's vision that in every household in Dominica, there must be a university graduate. This measure is intended to raise household income and the quality of life across the island. This will give families a new sense of hope, pride, and a more stable and secure future. Mr. Speaker, evidence is plentiful when considering tertiary education's contribution to economic development. The skills gained and enhanced through tertiary education contribute to increased productivity in the workplace. There is also evidence that tertiary education also supports non-economic development. It enhances the know-how for food security and mitigation of some effects of climate change. The skills gained through tertiary education contribute to health and education, provide support for peace processes, and help with advocacy for those who are subject to discrimination and exclusion. It is for these reasons and more that last school year, this government invested more than $38 million in enabling 2,786 individuals to obtain tertiary education ranging from associate degree to PhD level. Students are pursuing studies in varying fields in science, medicine, technology, business, education, agriculture, and the arts. In this regard, I wish to thank the Dominica State College, the University of the West Indies Open Campus, St. Augustine, Cave Hill, and Mona Campus, Monroe College, Midwestern State University, and Grambling State University, among the many other universities and colleges, including those in Canada, America, the People's Republic of China, Europe, Morocco, the Republic of Cuba, United Kingdom, Romania, Japan, Turkey, New Zealand, and all around the world. We extend gratitude to all of these countries, institutions, and organizations for generating these prospects and helping to make tertiary education a reality for our citizens. Mr. Speaker, the supplementary appropriation of $666,008.37 was used to meet outstanding payment of tuition and housing and other related expenses to Dominican students pursuing higher education in various universities. I express on behalf of the 8 beneficiaries from the Castle-Bruce constituency much gratitude. The other 16 were all right. Our commitments to our students were extended from the normal in many cases due to the impact of COVID-19. But Mr. Speaker, as a government, we make every effort to ensure that our students are comfortable. Mr. Speaker, research has shown that an environment conducive to learning increases students' attention, promotes meaningful learning experiences, encourages higher levels of student performances, and motivates students to practice higher level critical thinking. Work is completed at the Monjon and Daly's Primary School, and work at W.S. Stevens and the Grand Bay Primary School, which will be named after the late Honorable Edward Regis, will be completed in the early next year. So much has been done, yet we have so much to do to make our students and teachers more comfortable. Mr. Speaker, I know that it has been a long wait for the people of Maho, and the Ministry of Education thanks all stakeholders for their patience. We extend our gratitude to the Maho Village Council for providing the space for our students since Hurricane Maria. We highly commend the parents of the students who attend the Maho Primary School for your understanding, sacrifice, effort, and collaboration. The challenges were there, but we always found a way to work around them. You are extraordinary. The principal and teachers of the Maho Primary School, above all, have displayed exceptional work ethics despite the limitation of space. I wish to thank the past principal, Mrs. Roberts, and the current principal, Ms. Stedman, for their leadership during this time. We do not underestimate the level of dedication it has taken to teach, to conduct extracurricular activities, and to fully engage your students in this setting. Thank you for your hard work and for your commitment to the education of our children. Mr. Speaker, clean, modern learning spaces are directly correlated to students' achievement levels. It means that the condition of the school plant, classroom, and grounds directly impacts the performance of students. Our school infrastructure helps improve the attendance and interest of students in learning, and it motivates teachers to give their best. That is why this government continues to invest heavily in the improvement of our school plans to ensure the comfort of students, teachers, and administrators. Spaces for teachers and students with proper ventilation, lighting, water, electricity, and internet services all contribute to the creation of a learning environment where students can flourish. We develop centers that also include libraries, sick bay, ICT and science lab, kitchenette, and staff quarters. Furthermore, it is also our policy that every new structure must include an early childhood center to cater for that sector of our student population, like we have done in Wharton Waven, Trafalgar, Pebush, Salisbury, Bells, Concord, Roseau Primary, Warner, and Mont Prosper. The new building in Maho will include a fully equipped early childhood facility. All our new schools also include provision facilities for students who are physically challenged. We believe that these students perform best and are better prepared for life after school days if they are included in the normal school system. Mr. Speaker, since the passage of Hurricane Maria, we have come a long way with school rehabilitation. Our Build Back Better philosophy has meant that our rehabilitated buildings and new constructions are designed with all the convenience for the modern classroom. We have designed our new school buildings with spaces for the development of talent and to promote sports and culture. In Maho, we hope that the school will remain the center of community life, and children and youth will be engaged in activities that will give them a strong foundation and establish behaviors and skills that will make them successful in later life. The school will also serve as a place where significant events in Maho community will be celebrated. Mr. Speaker, supplementary appropriation of $3,393,993.81 was used to meet expenses related to the construction of the Maho Primary School. Mr. Speaker, despite the challenges of COVID-19, especially its impact on the world's economy, this government continues to deliver. And this Dominican Labour Party government promises Dominicans that your patience and support will be worth it, because we will deliver to you products and services that meet international standards. The people of Dominica are counting on us to continue their work. The students, especially those overseas, are depending on us to help them attain this degree. Students and teachers deserve to spend most of their days in comfortable spaces. Teaching and learning will continue despite COVID-19. The programs, projects, and initiatives presented in the supplementary appropriation were too urgent and too critical to be postponed. Therefore, I once again commend the efforts of this government, and I support the supplementary appropriation July 2020 to June 2021. God bless you. God bless Dominica. Thank you graciously.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to give my support to the supplementary estimates for 2020-2021. Mr. Speaker, I heard Senator John Finn. Yes, a retired teacher, mother, and senior citizen. And I must say that the contribution was cold, heartless. Mr. Speaker, these are unprecedented times. We are dealing with a raging pandemic. Thank God, by the grace of God, we have a well-seasoned, experienced leader to help us ride the waves, especially the waves of COVID that keep coming one after the next. The lack of concern for funds spent to secure and safeguard the health and safety of our people and the development of our country is stunning. Mr. Speaker, I had a surge of COVID in the Soufrière constituency. I had sleepless nights, making sure people were okay, people were at their home and breathless. I had to call the COVID transportation unit to come and transport them. It has been a difficult period. And Senator John Finn comes up there and talks as if things are normal, not making one reference to the excellent management of the country in this pandemic. Mr. Speaker, just a few months ago, 2 years ago, we had 0 deaths, Mr. Speaker. A year and a half ago. And a few months ago, we went from 0 to now today having 40 deaths. You're not hearing anything. No compassion for the people and the struggles. But Mr. Speaker, I want to ask her. I really wanted to ask her. Mr. Speaker, through you, she'll answer, Mr. Speaker. Through the Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Senator John Finn, which of the expenditures should have the government strike out because she said we overspent? Remember, she said the government overspent. Okay, good. So I want to ask her, is it the funds, the 8 million we spent on tuition and assistance for students studying abroad? During the budget presentation, they said we were not paying student fees. Students were all crying. No, we spent an additional $8 million, and she said we overspent. Or is it the $10 million spent to fight COVID, the additional $10 million? To retrofit facilities in Portsmouth, to expand more quarantine facilities, to ensure we provided human resources. We had to hire more environmental health officers, more nurses. We even provided a risk allowance for the frontline workers battling COVID. So is that what she wanted us not to spend on? Because we are being accused of overspending. Or is it the $47 million for the much-awaited Marigot Hospital that we wanted to complete for the people of the Northeastern? What are we overspending on? Or is it the $20 million? Any she has
we need to cease from saying she
Okay,
or he. Refer
the
member
sorry,
or senator.
Apologies.
Yes, yes.
The
Yes,
Senator John Finn, Honorable Speaker, my sincere apologies. But the Honorable Senator Speaker said that people lose their jobs and we are spending additional $20 million your families that need the support of the NEP. And she accused us of overspending on people of Dominican. Or, Mr. Speaker, is it $10 million we spend to landowners because this government is determined to build this international airport? Which is it you wanted us to delete or not spend on? I really want to know, Mr. Speaker, because the people of Dominica want to know how the opposition feels about them and their livelihoods and the impact COVID has had on our economy. They do not care. Well, Mr. Speaker, this government will build the international airport, and we will not do like United Workers' Party that took a loan in Trinidad, in a bank in Trinidad, paid some of their friends, but when they left office after 4.5 years, left huge debts in the treasury, inclusive of the 14% we're still paying for that loan they took in 1995. Imagine that. We're still paying that debt. Yes, we are. Mr. Speaker, I really thank God for rescuing Dominica from this pack of wolves that left a treasury that they met with money, penniless. Mr. Speaker, and I'm saying all those things about how destructive the opposition party is. Exactly, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have to say those things because most of the young people, our young people, they grew up under labor. They don't understand how reckless the opposition has been and continues to be. Our seniors know, and that is why they will continue to pray for this government, so we shall never have a repeat of the abuse this country endured under the United Workers' Party government. They shall never return to office. So, Mr. Speaker, this Dominica Labour Party administration is constructing the international airport, a project which I consider to be the most transformative in our 43 years of existence. As not only will it open a major gateway for tourism and trade, it will create, based on my own estimation, approximately 3,000 direct and indirect jobs in the economy, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was talking to the developer, and the developer was telling me some of the local contractors who are building homes in the Joe Burton area, Honorable Grant can confirm, are buying gifts of motor vehicles and new trucks. So they are making money on the project, local contractors. So, Mr. Speaker, what the government is doing is empowering serious contractors to grow and create wealth for themselves and their families. I am again making a call to our youth to position themselves to take advantage of the jobs that will be created on the completion of the international airport. We need air traffic controllers, we need safety officers, engineers, mechanics, electricians, safety officers. So this is a time for the youth to make wise decisions about their career goals or paths. And Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Tourism is already working to ensure that by the time the airport is complete, Dominica will already be a destination of choice for visitors. We have launched a major digital campaign which is doing extremely well, called In Our Nature. Our strategy to relaunch a destination by dissecting it into 5 pillars: aqua, agro-tourism, health and wellness, adventure, and events and entertainment is working. Our videos and images on social media is performing well above the industry rate. It's performing 76% above industry rate, especially our dive and health and wellness videos. Dominica, as you know, is the #1 dive destination in our region. Soon, Mr. Speaker, we are about to launch a new logo to market our destination, which will make Dominica stand tall on the world stage. One that will feature and will identify key elements of our nature, our flag, our friendliness as our people, and our mountains, Mr. Speaker. We are also focused on upgrading our existing tourism sites, starting with the 10 top popular sites, Mr. Speaker. Works has commenced in Trafalgar Falls, T2 Gorge, Freshwater in Roseau Valley, Indian River, Purple Turtle in Portsmouth, and soon works will start in Champagne Reef in Point Michel. And Mr. Speaker, I must also say that we will soon be starting a very innovative project which I believe will further promote Dominica as a destination of choice for visitors, Mr. Speaker. It will put us on the world map, and that is the construction of a cable car to the Boiling Lake, Mr. Speaker. Because, Mr. Speaker, whereas many people, are not as fit, Mr. Speaker, so hiking is not my favorite thing, Mr. Speaker. But we have many avid hikers among us, Mr. Speaker. And so whereas many visitors come and they come to stay for long term, Mr. Speaker, and can hike to the Boiling Lake, which is about a 6 hours hike, there are many visitors who come by cruise, or even Dominicans who have not visited the Boiling Lake, Mr. Speaker, because of the distance, Mr., and the challenges with the hike, Mr. Speaker. But because of this project, Mr. Speaker, they will be able to see the second largest boiling lake in the world, and the only one in the Western Hemisphere by going via cable car, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, and as I am discussing some of the plans, Mr. Speaker, I want to let my constituents know. I know there has been a lot of murmuring about the sulfur springs, Mr. Speaker. And thanks to the support of one stakeholder in the Soufriere constituency, which I'll not mention now because we are still in the planning phases of the project, we are going to redevelop the Soufriere sulfur springs, Mr. Speaker, a major attraction spot for tourists and locals. Mr. Speaker, I said the money spent on the supplementary to prepare the destination, I said that very clearly.
No, Senator, the minister is on track. She's referring to the actual spending and justifying the spending.
For the international airport.
So I'm not going to get involved in the back and forth, but continue.
Mr. Speaker, I'm talking about the importance of the international airport for tourism. So I thought he was my shadow minister, he should be listening. We have already completed 2 major jetties, which will be utilized by fisher folks, but will also provide new opportunities for tourism. Mr. Speaker, we plan to have ferry service directly from Martinique to Soufriere. More visitors coming into Dominica. So, Mr. Speaker, a lot is happening in spite of COVID because of this Roosevelt led administration and these wonderful colleagues you see here who are so hardworking. In spite of the drop in revenue, we are determined to deliver dynamic Dominica with resilient infrastructure, more permanent jobs and opportunities for many citizens to expand their businesses or new entrepreneurs to create wealth. Every major project that this government is undertaking right now will have major spill-offs in every constituency, a major boost for our economy. I'm so excited about 2022. More visitors to our island and more avenues to export goods means that farmers, fisher folks, hairdressers, service providers, supermarkets owners, utility companies, taxi operators, tour operators, vendors, resort owners, Airbnb providers will earn more revenue, more cash in their pocket or on their bank account. And Mr. Speaker, by the next time I visit this house, I hope to be able to share our great plans for the development of our cruise and cargo ports. So, Mr. Speaker, permit me to thank my hardworking team, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, the CEO of DASPA and his team, the CEO of DD and his team, the Honorable Palsec in the Ministry of Tourism, the Tourism Task Force, tourism stakeholders who continue to collaborate with us as we focus on ensuring the tourism sector rebounds and grows. And right now, Mr. Speaker, we are preparing for December 8th for one of our major accomplishments. Direct flights from mainland USA, Miami, directly to Dominica. And by all reports, Mr. Speaker, we're expecting a full flight of 70 people on December 8th, Mr. Speaker. This will be a major game changer for travel to our destination. And despite the fact that the leader of the opposition left this house disgracefully during the budget presentation and went on doing a sideshow of his own budget presentation outside the house, where he's been paid to listen and contribute to the budget. He went on a sideshow, spoke for only 50 minutes, and tried to discredit this major achievement of this government. My fellow Dominicans, American Airlines is coming. And to add to that, the destination is doing so well that before even the first flight has landed, they have already added a third flight to commence in January on Mondays. So we'll be having 3 flights per week, Mr. Speaker. And to add to that, we'll be opening the executive lounge, which will allow all visitors who want a more upscale airport services to be able to pay and have that service, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, we serve an awesome God. Labor, Debor. When it is good, say it is good, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, this RS-led labor administration is working to ensure a brighter future for today and generations to come. What is needed now is for every Dominican to do 2 things, Mr. Speaker. Change our mindsets. Let us do like the people of Dubai, who worked with their leaders over 50 years to transform the Dubai economy, Mr. Speaker. Dominica can become the beacon of the Caribbean, the food basket of the Caribbean, and the best place to do business in the Caribbean. What is required is for every citizen to catch the clear vision of this government, and let us together make every aspect of the vision to build dynamic Dominica a reality. Secondly, I want to encourage us to work towards keeping money circulating in our economy by buying local goods and services. This is extremely critical for tourism. Visitors are asking for locally manufactured products, Mr. Speaker. Our vendors have to ensure that they offer more locally manufactured goods and authentic Dominican-made goods to visitors. The relaunch of the Small Business Grant Program supports entrepreneurs who produce local goods, Mr. Speaker. Recently, our first cohort of 17 small business owners who will receive grants graduated from their training program, Mr. Speaker. To date, 30 entrepreneurs have been approved. And just to share, because I heard somebody said, well, I heard the Honorable Senator said that we're not doing anything for small business owners. We have Clesia Alexander Bells, Zion Meds, Mr. Speaker, a recipient of the grant. We have Arby's Essential Oils from Monwachet. We have Empress Yogurts Plus from Bells. We have Craft Manufacturing from Soufriere. And Mr. Speaker, many, many more. As I mentioned, about 30 of them who have already been approved under the program. Young budding entrepreneurs who are trying to make a difference and helping produce locally manufactured goods in Dominica. So, Mr. Speaker, I notice, before I end, Mr. Speaker, I want to let my constituents know that their turn is coming for housing. I noticed the millions spent on the modern resilient housing programs. And I want to let them know today that very soon, probably in the month of December or early January, they will see works commencing to build our modern resilient homes in Point Michel and Scottsett, Mr. Speaker. And we also plan on building some homes for some families that are really in need in Soufriere, Mr. Speaker, who already own their lots, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Hurricane Maria was really tough on our economy, Mr. Speaker. Many of my constituents, I had 98% of the housing stock damaged and some totally destroyed, Mr. Speaker, by Hurricane Maria. So it has really been a tremendous effort by the government to ensure that we could provide housing for needy families, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I still have about 100 families that I have to assist repair their homes or build homes for, Mr. Speaker. So I'm very happy that we are finally starting our resilient housing program in Point Michel and Scottsett, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And every time I take a look at this light, it is shining brighter and brighter. Merci bon Dieu to God. Thanks be to God for his grace, mercies, and love of us. Thank God for prudent, wise leadership. And thank God that I'm a part of a team of caring and diligent individuals who are focused on ensuring that this light, despite of our many unforeseen and man-made disasters, is committed to our mandate to build a dynamic, modern economy, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I have advice for the Senator of Roseau North, Mr. Speaker. The Parliamentary Representative for the Roseau North, Honorable Danny Lugay, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm forgetting his name because from what I've heard from his constituents, he's in hiding, Mr. Speaker. Even the $2,000 we are providing to him monthly, he hasn't opened an office, Mr. Speaker. So even me, some of his constituents text, Mr. Speaker. So I want him to I want to encourage him, and I want to encourage the honorable leader of the opposition before he is forced into retirement by what I heard on the ground, Mr. Speaker. Senator Sanford, to do something good for his country for once in his life before he's forced to retirement. Stand and support the CBI program, which is going to help us deliver on many key projects for the transformation of Dominica to benefit the people of Dominica. Stand for something before you're forced into retirement. So, Mr. Speaker, the COVID pandemic has been very rough on all constituencies. I want to thank my constituents who have been following the protocols, those who have gotten vaccinated. I want to encourage many more to do so, because as you've seen, we're spending a lot of money in the battle against COVID-19, Mr. Speaker. Money which I could have used in the constituency to advance my housing program and other projects I had to do. But it has been a very challenging period, Mr. Speaker, but I'm happy that we are still getting things done. I'm very focused on transforming the Soufriere constituency, as I declared in my campaign, into a tourism mecca. So, Mr. Speaker, I am still able to check on my constituency manifesto and tick some of the major things that have been accomplished even during this pandemic period. So I am focused on my mission to deliver as promised to the people of the Soufriere constituency. So, Mr. Speaker, Christmas is my favorite season. This year, the celebration will be with a difference, but I pray that the joy of knowing Jesus Christ and the spirit of neighborly love continues. So I wish everyone a very joyous Christmas, thanking God for his love and protection and provision. Provision, as despite this ongoing pandemic, we have a lot to be thankful for, Mr. Speaker. Not one civil servant has been sent home, Mr. Speaker. We are able to pay NEP and civil servant salaries on time. Our state-of-the-art hospital is functioning and well-equipped, Mr. Speaker. You heard that our MRI was recently put into operation, Mr. Speaker. We are building health centers, Mr. Speaker. The Soufriere Health Center was just completed. Yes, we had the ceremony in the Marigot constituency recently, Mr. Speaker. So this government is working. We have maintained all our social programs, and our international airport is coming, Mr. Speaker. The work has commenced, Mr. Speaker, and we are going to build the international airport for the people of Dominica. So, Mr. Speaker, we have a lot to be thankful for as a people this Christmas. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say thanks be to God. Hosanna in the highest. Glory, glory. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Senator, I recognize you, but before you proceed, you were trying to stand on a point of order. I just wanted to, and I said it earlier this morning, that in regards to the supplementary estimate and budget, we give as much leeway as possible. Everything just has to be in context, and we are guided by the fact that we cannot be imputing improper motive. You understand? But that is it. We are here to really add value. So if one side try to convince the other side of a different point of view and add value, that's all. So proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon to my parliamentary colleagues, Dominicans listening from all walks of life, the individuals who continue to carry our flag and our citizenship with pride and joy. Good afternoon to the individuals from the constituency of Vickers, which consists of Penville, Vickers, and Thibault. Mr. Speaker, before I proceed, I also want your permission to glance at my copious notes, which I realize you spoke about the standing orders would be placed with strict adherence.
Yes, permission is granted.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I would also want to borrow from the Holy Book, where in Philippians 4 states that, and maybe of brethren in the Lord waxing confidence by my bonds are much more bold to speak the word without fear, and therefore I'm inclined to speak the truth to power, speak without fear and favor, speak knowing that it is duty bound, that I am duty bound to speak on the behalf of Dominicans, and I also speak in the name of my daughter and fellow Dominican children, who really and truly the future that which they will live must circle around the decisions that are made here in this honorable house today. We should be reminded that the more we speak out on matters relating to performance of a government, the better those in governance will perform. And let it be known to all that it is with silence that those in government are strengthened. And therefore, it is incumbent on each and every one of us to voice our concern in a respectable and truthful manner, thus so we could keep those that govern us in check. This supplementary appropriation bill, Mr. Speaker, is where lies the policy direction of the government, and it provides an indication of the current emphasis or the emphasis on various sectors. What we have seen over time and time again is really the emphasis on maintenance of what is proven to be the limiting factors, as opposed to the embracing policies which would have a bias towards industry and commerce. And Mr. Speaker, this is not just a recent situation. This is frightening. And Mr. Speaker, for example, I really jump in, but for example, the Ministry of Trade, Commerce, Entrepreneurship, Mr. Speaker, for a supplementary appropriation bill, we are not seeing anything. And I remember specifically in that budget presentation, I asked that more spending would be done in this area because we live in a COVID era where we need to be innovative, we need to increase trade, we need to be more productive. And I foresee that that would have been an issue. And we would have to find innovative ways to counteract the challenges that COVID-19 would pose on our economy. And we came here and we heard them saying, oh, well, we can't chew gum and walk at the same time. It meaning say we cannot fight the COVID pandemic and think about the economy. And today, we come back here and who said that? Who said that? Look the minister right there. Look the minister right there. And Mr. Speaker, so it is my conviction that this administration plays little or no regard to the economic advancement of ordinary Dominican. And it's my conviction. And even in times like this, while COVID continues to hold people like a vice grip, squeeze in any viable option of survival, we see today what our results of our inaction have brought to us. And I will admit, there will always be space for social programs in our economy. There will always be social welfare programs to deal with the issues that they create. And Mr. Speaker, we need to provide major fiscal programs and stimulants, Mr. Speaker, that will grow our economy. And we are again seeing the out-of-budget spending towards efforts which produce not enough stimulants to grow our economy. I'm not saying that they are not doing well at taking care of the elderly. I'm not taking nothing away from them. I'm not taking nothing away. But how many of the elderly you will send back to work? You can't do that. So you have to take care of the younger ones and go and invest into provident activities, provident economic stimulants so that we can be more buoyant as a country. I'm taking nothing away from you. I have always said my presentations here in the board is not for Workers' Party, it's not for Labour, it's for Dominicans, Mr. Speaker. So whatever I say here, Mr. Speaker, because I am duty bound, I took an oath and I take things seriously to really protect the interests of our future generations, and Mr. Speaker. And seriously, it may not be the easiest thing to do. The easiest thing for me to do is to say, oh, that's not good, that's not good, that's not, but I don't do that, Mr. Speaker. So I honestly come here, Mr. Speaker, with my conviction that we can do better to empower every single Dominican into buoyancy. We can't remain as caterpillars for the entire lifetime. We need to be butterflies at one point, Mr. Speaker, and what we have seen is the over-reliance and emphasis, Mr. Speaker, on things that do not drive economic success, Mr. Speaker. And that is what our side at the United Workers' Party keep asking and advocating for on behalf of all Dominicans across the board, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19 hit our shores in May of 2021. Wholesale and retail sector was affected by the temporary closure. Individual livelihoods were significantly challenged. We came to listen again, Mr. Speaker, and lend our support to the matters relating to COVID-19 protocols, the new plans that the Ministry of Health has done. And Mr. Speaker, I note that the Honorable Minister of Health is absent. Mr. Speaker, I still want to touch on that. I saw the investment made in the, or out of budget spending made on the health sector, Mr. Speaker, which was second highest, Mr. Speaker. And I want to applaud the Ministry of Health, Mr. Speaker, because if not for that, we would be in a serious problem. No system here is foolproof. So there will always be room for improvement. So if we decide or we say, hey, I think you are going wrong here, you can improve. It's not to destroy the system. And you will hear them say, the United Workers' Party don't like nobody or don't like people. The Honorable Minister just said that. And Mr. Speaker, that is the furthest from the truth. That is the furthest from it. It's not because we are tasked with what is really not the nicest opportunity, to be honest. No one likes the regulator. No one likes the supervisor. No one would be comfortable with constantly being corrected. You have to only be a mature person to accept that. And Mr. Speaker, it speaks a lot about the level of maturity on the other side of it. Mr. Speaker, but in the supplementary budget appropriation bill before this House, Mr. Speaker, we see the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development getting the largest share of the public sector investment, 27.49% or 117 million, to a further unforeseen spending, Mr. Speaker, up again the largest proportion, where you have 28.8% or 72 million. Mr. Speaker, housing is very important. The conditions in which our ordinary Dominicans live is of great concern, Mr. Speaker. And we on this side just want to ensure that we treat, there's a level of parity or equitable distribution of those resources so that all Dominicans can benefit in one way or the other, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, but it is also now followed by the public works and the digital economy, which gives the 27.6 million. In a COVID world, the presentation to deal with roadworks and drains, Mr. Speaker. There's the adage that the road to development is more roads. So too, there's a school of thought that thinks in smaller developing countries, building of roads may not be as so effective as in larger economies. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, we want to say that, I say that against the backdrop that, Mr. Speaker, we need to be able to prioritize on the most productive for where we invest in, how much production we going, how much income, how much trade, how much commerce is going to be facilitated by doing those things, Mr. Speaker. Well, I know you don't understand, so I'm just only helping you too. So that's okay. Well, we also heard, Mr. Speaker, and Mr. Speaker, really, my job here is to help. My job here is to help, so if you don't understand, we can always chat. I'm Honorable Paul. We can always have a chat. Well, we have heard the Minister of Tourism, Mr. Speaker. It's always good for the shadow to come after the object, because the shadow is normally bigger than the object. We always remember that. So I just want to tell her that. And I heard her went around, Mr. Speaker, and the question is, Mr. Speaker, well, yes, we understand that. But, Mr. Speaker, within the particular budget presentation, I remember coming again and saying to the minister or to this honorable house that with the projections of COVID, the amount that was budgeted was insufficient for the Ministry of Tourism. Noted, and I want to say that again, that it is 30% of new jobs in any economy is contributed to tourism. And I said this also, Mr. Speaker, too much chagrin, Mr. Speaker, no additional spending in a COVID era, Mr. Speaker, and it was so clear while she was presenting, while the Honorable Minister was presenting, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister wandered around trying to say where she should have spent, or where the ministry should have spent. And that is why I was trying to object to say it's not a budget presentation, it's what you have spent, and there was no additional spending for that ministry. So we have the cable car to the boiling lake. But look, you're validating what I just said, Honorable Minister. Cable car project is really a water down of the Free Lakes project that the Honorable Leader of the Opposition pointed out already. You want the cable car in a supplementary, move it. Mr. Speaker, I have had time to move it, just to, although this sector is a very volatile sector, Mr. Speaker, we need to have greater investments on that, in that sector, to be able to leapfrog into positions which is comparable to like ventures in our neighboring islands, and even further afield, Mr. Speaker, because the niche that Dominica can exploit is our nature tourism, Mr. Speaker, and there are other islands who are trying to really emulate what we are doing, Mr. Speaker, and to stay ahead, we would need more investments into that, and that is exactly what I was asking for. Mr. Speaker, I have noticed efforts, by the Ministry of Tourism, Mr. Speaker, to really adapt to the challenges of COVID-19. Mr. Speaker, I see some little jupa. You know what jupa, Mr. Speaker? Those little huts on the bayfront, my God, Mr. Speaker, that is not the best we can do here. That is really not the best we can do, Mr. Speaker. For a tourist who may be the first time to Dominica, using a little jupa with little, Mr. Speaker, we could have been more creative in that if we didn't have the money. Or we, Mr. Speaker, it's just confusing. But again, Mr. Speaker, I remember, the minister never responded, where there was an aggressive policy towards improving visitors' arrival by 200,000 within a COVID era. And I wrote an article, Mr. Speaker, asking and assisting and really commending the effort, because, again, I try to be fair and balanced. Because whatever that are made is for all Dominicans, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, well, he never responded, the minister never responded, Mr. Speaker, and we can see really and truly the actions never showed any response again. But again, we continue to lament the prioritization of spending into vital ministries. Trade, I want to re-emphasize, and maybe at the risk of being repetitive, trade, innovation, business, export development, and it should be ably headed by Minister Ian Douglas. It should be ably headed by that, because his family emanates from an enterprising family. He emanates from an enterprising family, Mr. Speaker. And today, Mr. Speaker, young people are languishing, fighting for opportunities, Mr. Speaker, and we sit down here into the right positions, Mr. Speaker, we will definitely see the rewards. And therefore, I cannot subscribe to the fact that the Ministry of Trade, Commerce, Industry, Innovation, Business, Export Development, Mr. Speaker, has only shared 1.18% of the estimate of 427 million. And Mr. Speaker, you tell me there's no additional spending in a COVID era. Mr. Speaker, I understand. Mr. Speaker, whilst the Ministry of Rural Environment, the Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment racks up 6.6, and that point was elaborated, and I don't want to elaborate it by Honorable Luge. I don't want to be repetitive, Mr. Speaker, but just for stipends, Mr. Speaker, the word stipend itself missing out on something. Stipend does not equate to a wage, Mr. Speaker. Most times stipends are paid at the lowest rates, Mr. Speaker. And we have 20 million in 6 months going out to people who employed Dominicans who are proud Dominicans, employed in the most lowest state, Mr. Speaker. This morning, Mr. Speaker, coming to Parliament, I see a whole list here, and I say it in Creole, Mr. Speaker, of people, a whole boundary or a lot of people, Mr. Speaker, lining the roadside, all of them in the Labour Party paraphernalia, Mr. Speaker, cleaning in the National Employment Program, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, is that a campaign mechanism, Mr. Speaker? Is the NEP sticking to the general orders, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, we have to uplift our people. We have to at least educate them and say, okay, you support Labour, but you remember it's the government, and there's a clear distinction between political parties and government, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, you want then we will cry out victimization because so what about those that cannot wear the Labour shirt now? Mr. Speaker, I expect that from you, doctor. Yeah. The party have them on the roadside. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, those individuals, especially from my community, Mr. Speaker, it bleeds my heart. It bleeds my heart, Mr. Speaker. It bleeds my heart, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, can I respond directly to him? I am not criticizing. Okay, I am criticizing the people because I know they deserve better and they can do better and you all can do better. So you prefer to act like that. And you have left them in that situation. Seemingly, you have left them in that situation. So you control and resist. That you prefer to hear. That you prefer to hear.
No, but
Mr. Speaker,
Senator,
Senator. You are training me. Stay there.
Senator, proceed. But again, I will not stop you now.
Yeah.
But you are implying that it is the members of parliament who is, as if they are asking people to wear whatever shirt they want.
Mr. Speaker,
You understand?
None of them are. Mr. Speaker,
but proceed.
I also, Mr. Speaker, can you give
But
me
proceed,
a little protection
proceed.
from my friend there? A little protection from yourself. But you know I can. I don't bounce. Okay, so I in. Mr. Speaker, I am not opposed to cleanliness. It is next to God. It is next to godliness. But of course, because the very same individuals, I would be ever so proud to see my next door neighbor, Mr. Speaker, my next door neighbor putting on a uniform and going to a Dominican factory, putting on a uniform and going to more productive means, Mr. Speaker. Something better. Where they can take care of themselves. Where they can, I am not degrading them. So, Mr. Speaker, we can clearly see
No, proceed, Senator.
My dad said in the best interest of all you. So ça des affaires go. That is all the business. If you don't like to hear it. Quick point. Okay, point Ozila. You will take it today. Mr. Speaker, I have listened to the presentation. Really, Mr.
Member,
Speaker.
8 more minutes. 8
Yeah.
more minutes.
Right, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what I have seen is comparable to a drift of swine stuck in mud, Mr. Speaker, with no economic strategy, with no domestic economic activity.
But member, I think you should withdraw that. You cannot make an analogy at that level. It is unparliamentary.
Mr. Speaker, forgive me.
Yeah, withdraw this.
Forgive me, even though, Mr. Speaker, I hear the cry. You will see what I do.
Senator, withdraw.
Withdraw, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I think,
Proceed.
even I am with but stop it. It was an analogy. So listen, someone's opinion of it doesn't have to be a reality. So if you take it as a reality,
Senator,
Mr. Speaker,
Senator, you have withdrawn this statement.
I have withdrawn, Mr. But you never give me the protection that I needed.
No. You see,
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
You see,
So, Mr. Speaker, let me just wrap up. I have 3 more minutes.
see what is happening there. While you are speaking, you are actually there debating with them across the table, and your members are talking too.
Yes.
I've been ponging over and over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
So I'm trying to give you the protection, but you are engaging them.
Okay, thank you.
So continue.
Right. So, Mr. Speaker, what we have seen is the degradation of community-based organizations while we expect to create a dynamic and resilient Dominica. How is that possible, Mr. Speaker? If we are serious people, let's focus on economic drivers for a change and allow the people to take charge of their lives. Give them the independence that they rightly deserve, Mr. Speaker. As I listen to the presentation thus far, Mr. Speaker, I am reminded that Dominicans are truly resilient people. We are truly and wholly resilient people. I am convinced that the average Dominican can be pushed off into a furnace 7 times as hot and they will not be burnt, Mr. Speaker. The average Dominican can fall off Montego there with a broken bone. The average Dominican can swim through the boiling lake, and when you check some minutes later, Mr. Speaker, they're still swimming around enjoying the vibes, Mr. Speaker. Because, Mr. Speaker, what they have been placed through, Mr. Speaker, through the malgovernance of the administrative of government, Mr. Speaker, they have survived. They have held of their, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is evidence of the tolerance of difficult times, Mr. Speaker. Difficult circumstances. Hurricane Maria, Mr. Speaker. Erica, Mr. Speaker. Christmas strong, Mr. Speaker. We keep hearing 260% of GDP. And Mr. Dominican is still walking with pride, Mr. Speaker. They cannot be broken, Mr. Speaker. Those who try, Mr. Speaker, most times they find themselves on the wrong side. And Mr. Speaker, I know today I may have said certain things, but I hope you get the real sense. You get the real sense that the responsibility.
You want protection, Senator? No, I'm asking you because you stop. Yes, so members, allow him.
Honorable Reginald Austri cool down. Because at his age, he cannot make them go wash there. The big rage. He cannot do that. We lost honorable ages. Very good friend of mine. We can't have to say, seriously, I want to see that when we get into office, because everyone say we will have ministers, when we get into office, I will come to us and say, Reggie, look what you two have done. That's how
So, member, but members, I wanted to, Honorable Minister, before you proceed, you can step to the podium, but I would like to point out something to the Honorable House. You see, I gave the Senator completely away, but see what has happened. See what has happened. And that is why I want us to understand where I'm coming from. Let us look at Standing Order 44-6. No, he has presented. He has presented. Let me point out to the... Standing Order 44 says, no member shall impute improper motives to any member of the House or indulge in personalities except on a substantive motion moved for the purpose. See what has happened. I see where Senator Masley is actually in crosstalk getting involved with the Honorable Minister Ostry and saying that his children will say this or say that. So you see, that is where I have always cautioned. I allowed it, but I'm just guiding. And that is what I'm talking about. Getting involved with personality and discussing with him in regards to his family and all that. You see, but I allowed you. Honorable Leader of Opposition, I'm going to ask the Minister to proceed. I just want to just point that out so we can proceed. It's not a substantive matter. I wanted to point it out. So continue and proceed, Honorable Minister. Your mic.
Mr. Speaker, I stand to support the supplementary estimates, which is a strong indicator of how much work that this government puts in and going beyond what is budgeted for. And that points to our ability to effectively respond many times unforeseen and unfortunate circumstances. Mr. Speaker, I want to start. I heard Senator Masley this afternoon say in an arrogant manner to me that I don't understand development. But every development practitioner understands, first of all, that the social development of people underpins the economic development. I also want to ask Senator Masley whether infrastructural development is not the most important foundation for economic development. Through you, Mr. Speaker, and how and how an international airport, an important international airport, is not creating opportunities, trade, for export, for enterprise development, for improving doing business in Dominica, for creating the necessary infrastructure that will push tourism in Dominica, tourism development in Dominica, and much more. Just the international airport, and we see how much is expended for the acquisition of land, indicating how serious this government is about the international airport and all the benefits that can be derived from it. And to stand here and say we are not doing anything in terms of stimulating the economy, surely this person does not understand development and the backward and forward linkages to infrastructure like the airport. Clearly, he does not understand. Also, he does not understand that human resource development is the most critical in terms of economic development, and that the health of our people is the wealth of our people. So he does not understand. He simply went with a whole string of words here and there, but we are a government that understands holistic development. And if you understand that, you realize that we are putting the hotels in place, we are putting the international airport in place, and we are putting the hospitals and health center in place, the road network, all of those which will fall in line to ensure fast-track development of Dominican when these things come in. Mr. Speaker, expenditure in this supplementary estimate underscores largely our government efforts and significant investment in building resilience, both at the national level and community level. And we are ensuring readiness and effective response to emergencies and situations of crisis. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, we continue to put things in place to ensure the safety, security, and empowerment, and importantly, health and wellness of families and communities in Dominica. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, several of the areas of expenditure included in this supplementary appropriation that I choose to emphasize are related to critical matters and development for the state and benefits to the beloved citizens of Dominica. Mr. Speaker, we see expenditure of $1,885,000 on emergency shelters. Mr. Speaker, Hurricane Maria taught us a very serious lesson, and we cannot overemphasize the importance of such initiatives like the regional emergency shelters that we are going to ensure that each district has a regional shelter. This helps the community be able to have a place, a well-equipped, resilient building to go to, and that they can even remain for extended time without interrupting, for example, the return to school. When you do not have a shelter and you are at school, and maybe your house is destroyed, it interferes with our ability to return full time. So these regional shelters are very, very important. Mr. Speaker, and even while we are building this resilient shelter, we realize how much money is expended on ensuring that our people can also have resilient homes. And with resilient homes, you have less need, less people having to access the shelter. So we are addressing the issue of being ready for disaster from two fronts. We are building the shelters, but we are also ensuring that people have resilient homes. And just this year, for the hurricane season, we had 669 less people needing to go to hurricane shelters because we have built them resilient homes. So we continue to help vulnerable and needy families to have better houses across the country. No one can doubt, not even the opposition, who seems to have their hearts and their eyes closed. They cannot refute the fact that the Labour Party is the government of the underprivileged and vulnerable people in our society. And this includes all constituencies. It includes the Pebush constituency. So even today, as we speak, there's one family in Pebush moving to their resilient home. And I expect 5 others to move to their resilient home before Christmas. We also see the constituency will also see the construction of sustainable houses in the year 2022. So we will be getting our fair share each village for more sustainable housing in Bramo Park, in Kalibishi, and in Saiman. We also, in the supplementary appropriation, we see we have paid $4.5 million to the Vulnerability and Risk Reduction Fund. And again, we know we have learned from Hurricane Maria, and further we have learned from this COVID-19 pandemic that such a fund is very critical to our response, not just as a country alone, but as a regional entity, to be able to respond, to be able to draw down when we need the necessary resources. And so it is so very important that even during the adverse effects of COVID-19 and on the heels of Hurricane Maria, we have been able to contribute $4.5 million to the fund, because we cannot forget that we are in the hurricane belt, and COVID-19 has taught us that we have to be prepared for anything. You never know what may come and where it comes from. So we are preparing, and as a government who plans effectively, we are contributing to this vulnerability and risk fund. So that's very important expenditure here to safeguard, to ensure that our people can continue to survive when we are hit. You know, Mr. Speaker, despite all of the effort and investment that we make, for example, to address or respond to COVID-19, the most important response, Mr. Speaker, individually and collectively, is for us to get vaccinated. I use this opportunity to state that this is the best response, is if we get vaccinated and take all the necessary measures and follow the protocol. There are countries who really wish they had the vaccine like us. So I take this opportunity to show that government has ensured we secure the vaccine, and we are calling on all Dominicans to take the vaccine. And I hope all of the opposition members take the vaccine like we on this side. And we will encourage our people to do so. Mr. Speaker, again, our government cares first and foremost for the health and well-being of our people. And we have been doing our best, providing all the necessary resources, putting the measures in place, ensuring we have the human response to respond, but the rest is up to the people. At this time too, even during COVID-19, we see that we are not keeping our NEP out of work. It is very easy during challenging times, during times of crisis, that many people fall through the cracks. But we have been ensuring we meet our commitment so that the NEP workers, national employment people, are paid on time and that they will not fall through the cracks. And again, Senator Masley and others should be here supporting the fact and encouraging us to ensure that these people can meet their daily needs by ensuring that they are paid even when we are facing a major crisis like COVID-19. And I was as a social and community worker, I was very disturbed by the stance of Senator Masley, by the way he looks, like cleaning your community, clearing the drains, beautifying Dominica is degrading work. It is not degrading work, and I am very happy that the people take pride in ensuring that we can survive in a clean, beautiful, serene community, a serene country, and that in it itself lends to the product that we offer to tourism. So we as Dominicans enjoy a cleaner community, and those who visit also enjoy the experience of having a cleaner community. Why should it be degrading cleaning your community? Why should it be degrading clearing your drains? Why should you, and this also contributes to our resilience, because if you have clear drains, then less possible probability that you will have floods. And so you should commend the work that these people do. And the NEP program is not a program where you simply, everybody is involved in cleaning and beautification. There's internship programs where a number of people have been able to graduate to other permanent jobs. And I speak of teachers who were mentors in my constituency and now they have been teachers. Those who have been working at Aid Bank as NEP interns and now have a permanent job, also in the private sector. So NEP is not a drug. Cleaning, and cleaning is next to, cleanliness is next to godliness. So these people are involved, those who clean are involved in a very highly esteemed function, keeping our environment clean. Mr. Speaker, we have paid our due diligence fees for the CBI program, and that is very commendable. The CBI has been a pillar for us after Maria and even now facing the COVID-19 pandemic. The CBI has been a saving grace in times of crisis. We have shown that we are making prudent use of the CBI resources, not only for public sector development, but importantly for public sector, private sector partnership, where we have realized a number of hotels being built in Dominica that is so important and have started creating so many jobs, opportunities for entrepreneurs as well in this country. So we continue to be happy that we can be the #1 in terms of CBI ratings in the world for 5 consecutive years, and we continue to benefit from the CBI. And Mr. Speaker, under my ministry, we have spent $885,000, and we have seen the construction of 2 important modern community centers, and in Vickers and Trafalgar. I know as a social worker working in Women's Bureau and even the Whitey National Trail before, that many times you would go to Trafalgar, and Trafalgar really needed a community center when we knew where we were going to have all of these meetings and training. And Vickers for a number of years had no community center, even if they had the Prime Minister as the parliamentary representative. And we are happy to have spent and built these 2 major community centers, and that will allow for training, that will allow for education, for cultural development, for social events, and even maybe using the space for the development of skills and for budding entrepreneurs, as well as cultural development in the areas. So it really speaks to putting the infrastructure in place that will allow for the social and economic empowerment of communities. And so we are thankful for that, as well as the DFA contribution, Dominican Football Association contribution, to the development of football. And I guess we are grateful for this partnership, and we are continuing on this partnership for the development of football. And we are going into a new project where we will see the construction of the lighting of 6 playing fields to include Grand Fond, La Plaine, Cassibruce, Newtown, Anzime, Point Michel. We will see work on the outfield at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium, and work also on Benjamin's Park change rooms. And that is because of this collaboration and partnership with DFA. We are thankful. We take the opportunity to thank DFA for its continued investment, its continued partnership for the development of sports, especially football. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, I want to support again the international airport. We see investment in land acquisition, and as I say, it indicates to the country, and the country has embraced the idea of the airport. Both Dominicans here and in the diaspora are looking forward to this international airport, one which will ensure expanded tourism, increased trade, doing business, providing opportunity for new enterprises to ensure that traveling is much better. All of the issues that our Dominicans and visitors would have getting to the country, this will be eliminated with the international airport. And so with all of that, we could speak to all of these expenditure, which is really ensuring we invest in the people of Dominica for their social, their health and well-being, for reducing vulnerabilities and setting the path for the social and economic development of this country. With that, Mr. Speaker, I want to really support the supplementary appropriation estimates for 2021. I thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah. I recognize you, Honorable Senator. You may proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I sat and I was quite elated. I was kind of happy because I realized the government side takes copious notes. And they make noise, but at the same time they write, because some of our ideas are very good ideas. And it's always for the development of the country. It's not for us. So they take on ideas and they clandestinely do it. So we don't see it. Yes, but we are happy. Yeah, we are quite happy that it is done, and we're happy to be of contribution, that we make a contribution to the process. Mr. Speaker, we came here to, well, among other things, to discuss the supplementary appropriation. And it's a debate that we need to have, and people have to understand that when we make those contributions, it's not because we are criticizing or we are hating on each other, but we want things to be better. And we come year after year and we've been asking the same questions, that we have more justification for some of the spending areas under the budget. And from what we're hearing, I listened, and I'm not convinced for some of the justification needed for the spending under the supplementary appropriation. I would have loved to have heard 1,000-person benefit from this area, 1,400 frontline workers got assistance, among other areas. Mr. Speaker, I want to make it clear this afternoon that we are in support of the persons who get employment. We do not hate NEP, and I'm hearing words like, we don't like them, we hate them. I hear words like reckless and pack of wolves. I mean, why do we come here, Mr. Speaker, and denigrate each other and think that we're looking good when we do it, right? So you hear words, no, he wasn't denigrating anybody, and I will stand here and support Maslin, right? He said he wants better. When stipend, Mr. Speaker, please, could you just, I need to make my point. Thank you. When he said so, we turn stipend into salary, I'll be quite happy for me to hear it. Because what we want to do is sustainable development. And you'll take that and you'll go with it and you'll tell the people.
Even if
that,
you're senator, you
sorry,
should say senator, not he.
Yes, fine.
I mean, it's
Okay,
difficult in the flow,
agree,
but
I agree. Okay, so Mr. Speaker, we heard of the 26 million, right, over budget. The amount has been tripled under the NEP. I would love to hear that the salary or the stipend had been tripled, or the number of NEP workers had been tripled. Either way, I would be quite happy. But has it been tripled? The amount of money that is spent here, can you tell me, without having to put numbers and number of NEP? The amount of money, 26 million, divided by the number of NEP, will give us the correct figure that we need there, right? And your accounts will balance. Will it balance, right? The same maths all you do that not getting through here, right? So I would be very, very happy if that was so, that you could tell me that their salary had increased or their stipend had increased, because a lot of money was spent here.
And you always go, I mean, every project goes over budget, Mr. Speaker. We know that because most of us who do project, we know. But not to that extent. Not to that extent. It means planning is a problem here. And Mr. Speaker, you've done planning, you know, you are a businessman, you know, right? You may go over budget, but then this is, I don't know, I don't want to use the word ridiculous, but I don't know if it's parliamentary language, but this is overboard. This is overboard. And then we hear beautiful words. I mean, words is beautiful, but reality, is it really happening? Can we say today, in this parliament today, that whatever these beautiful words said here is really happening for the people in the various communities? That their lives have changed. I'm asking a question. You all have the money, you know, it's you all to answer the questions. Right, we're asking, right? Have the lives of our people changed so drastically? Have it changed? With millions and millions, and we have millions flying all over the place. Have the people's life changed? Mr. Speaker, any supplementary estimates, I would have loved to have heard that money spent fixing the sewage problem in those apartment buildings, because we know it is an environmental problem. We know that, Mr. Speaker, there is no two ways about it. Because once you drive to those areas, that's like for lamp lane. Once you drive the area, you have to put up your glass. That is what I would love to see here. I would also love to see the Daily Security Servant Road finally is open. Mr. Daruda would be happy because he would swing and go to his constituency in his office. I'm sure he would be happy. We speak on your behalf, you know, it's all you that not happy when we speak, you know, we speak on your behalf because we'll be happy for all constituencies to do well and not some. Right. So we're speaking on your behalf. We saw the mapping, it was discussed already, the mapping exercise for the Dominican Census. And we know we need a complete and accurate count of the population, and we do not have that right now. And we know of the social and economic characteristics as well, and the data that you need for all sectors, because without the data, that is the problem we have here, you know. Because the data, the information, the planning is not in here, so we cannot accurately, almost accurately. So we have to go over a budget of $200 and some million. Mr. Speaker, I saw $1.1 million for scanner to identify illicit goods, contraband. This is great news. And we want to know when it will be operational, if it is already operational. And we want it to work for all. Mr. Speaker, I pray that it is not a situation of who will guard the guard. Because we want to know those coming back door, front door, and pui and everywhere, situation can be solved. Very happy if it can work. Mr. Speaker, we also have some areas under the $1 million for the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We know that we suffer our own selves from situations disaster posed, and we are happy to get assistance. So we have no problem in these areas when people get assistance to ensure that their lives are better and that the region, we think of each other. Mr. Speaker, humanitarian assistance, we see of a number of the UN organizations like UNDP and the World Food Program. A lot of these areas assist the vulnerable people. You know, and I hear the government side talk about how much money and they love the vulnerable. But these organizations take a chunk of the grant funding to ensure that the humanitarian side is taken care of. You know? And this is something that we have to allow. It has to be equitably distributed and no political interference. Mr. Speaker, I don't know if I can say that for all programs, but I know they try their best because during Tropical Storm Eric and Hurricane Maria, I worked with World Food Program to help to develop some of the areas in the various communities. So we know that they follow their protocol and they follow their stats. But I'm not sure if we can say that I'm not sure if I can say that for all, for us here. right? Mr. Speaker, every year when we come here, we are happy to ensure that the people of Dominica benefit. If the people of Dominica benefit, we do not have any problem. But it's when we see the amount of money that is spent and the people are not benefiting so much from these programs, then we have a problem with that. Right. Now, some areas, it is good to know what period the payment was made, because some of them are very, very vague. We do not have, some tell you from January to whatever month, but some areas we do not get any much information from here. Under the Ministry of Health, we see the amount of money that is set aside for the payment associated with management of COVID. We will have our issues. As we know, we continue to support the COVID protocols and everything. I know in the last, when we came in to discuss and all the loans that were taken to help with the COVID relief response. And we also need, the audit department need to go through this year and let us know exactly what is happening. We just need to know what is happening, because it's our money, it's my money too, you know. So we need to know what is going on. And we also would need to know how many people benefited from this COVID. Now, geothermal, we're hearing a lot of talk on geothermal and geothermal. When is it going to happen? When? We're hearing words like, I have to, will do, I have to do this, and this is coming. We've been coming here every time, and that is what we hear. It's been coming and it will come. When will it come? Tell us those things there, right? And I heard, I mean, we have to give people autonomy. We hear something like, I have to build a home, I have to do this, and I have to give this and the other. Come on, give the people the autonomy, so you can say, the community is going to do this, not me as a parliamentary representative. Not me as the minister. We are going to do it together. And in order to do it together, you have to give the people the autonomy. You have to train them. They have to be sustainable. Right? I also heard the minister said that because of the government-built resilient houses, that a lot of people don't go to shelter. Praise the Lord. But I know a lot of people build their own houses themselves and repaired because of their own insurance. So we have to give people that too. Some people work very hard to get their homes up to a standard. And we are happy that people are getting, we would love, and that's what we've been asking for, people to have their own homes so they can develop it. And we see areas under solid waste. So we just need to know, when are those things coming to reality? That is all we need to know. And give us justification for those things. Right? If you tell us, this is what was done. Come on, we are smart people. You heard us already. You've been hearing us every time in the house. We are very intelligent people. Not to say that there's not intelligent people elsewhere in the house. What I'm saying is, give us justification. Let us decide for ourselves whether it is true, whether it is okay, and we will agree that yes, that money was spent right, and it was spent for the benefit of the Dominican public. That is all we are interested in the people of Dominica and what goes for them. And sometimes we come here and the other side says, oh, we don't support anything. We do support. We do support when the occasion arises, when it is good for the people of Dominica, we do support. But when you come with loans and people have to pay back the loan, and we do not see the benefit for the people, how can you continue to support? And in the next few years, they'll be paying the loan. And they do not benefit, because some of these things, you choose who to give. And we cannot sit there and say that is not happening. Right? We choose who to give. And Mr. Speaker, I am calling on this government, please do some planning. Look at the vulnerable areas. Look at the critical areas and prioritize. Because I'm sure if you had done your priorities right, we wouldn't have had to go over budget like this. And trust me, there are some areas that need critical attention and they have not gotten it. So let us stop beating ourselves and saying we have done everything well, and listen to people, listen to reason. Listen to the debate and take something, even if you don't pick up everything, but take something out of what we are saying. And let us see how we can build this nation. Let us see how we can build Dominica. And let us see how we can make this place a better place, a resilient Dominica, a dynamic Dominica. Our people are already resilient because they take a lot. Dynamic Dominica, as it said, to ensure that our people, our children, will benefit in the future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, before I make my contribution,
Yes, proceed.
yes, allow me to extend some condolences to some constituents of mine who lost some loved ones over the past week. Yes. To the family of Mrs. Mary Williams of La Plaine, I'm to extend my condolences to them. She is the mother of my good friend Urania Williams, Angus Williams, and Asquith Williams. She passed last night. Also to the family of Augustine Bernard of Dalis, who will be buried on Wednesday, and also the family of Constable Julian Francis of Dalis as well. And also to the Graham family up in Balizier, Kathy Graham, Oscar Graham. Kathy lost her mother. So I'm sending condolences to all these people, and I'm telling them that my heart is with them, and I will be there for them. Mr. Speaker, I rise to give my support to the supplementary appropriations for July 2020 to June 2021. And Mr. Speaker, before I continue again, let me just reminisce a little bit as to where we are coming from and what this government had to endure whilst they are in power for the past 20 years. It has been challenge after challenge, recovery after recovery, and on every occasion, the government has recovered adequately and in time to take the country back on its feet. We will remember in 2008, the world economic crisis. It was the Labour Party government in power then, led by the same man, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, who led the country back from that bad economic situation. It was a worldwide economic situation back then, and he had to go through what he went through, and the government at the time did recover Dominica in time. And as we thought things were going to get better, here came Tropical Storm Erica, which devastated, and we even had to relocate an entire community of PT7. In fact, 2 communities, thanks Honorable Dr. Daru. And the Dominican Labour Party government worked hard, and they did that successfully against some odds, all odds. When some people were doubting that would never happen, it was done by the Dominican Labour Party government. And as soon as they dusted themselves, picked up themselves, and started all over again, here came Hurricane Maria, which also devastated the country with over 200% of the GDP destroyed and damaged. And we know most other countries would have been in the recovery stage or at the beginning of the recovery stage. Here it is today. The Dominican Labour Party and Dominica is recovering from Hurricane Maria, but it's doing so, and it's doing so swiftly. Very, very swiftly indeed, under the leadership of Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit. But that was not enough. In came the pandemic, and we know we have never lived through a pandemic before. The world last saw a pandemic in 1918, but it was not as bad as it is this time around. And here comes again, the Dominican Labour Party is being faced with yet another challenge. And yet, they are doing their best. We are doing our best. Dominicans can see, the world can hear and see that the Dominican Labour Party is taking Dominica forward with good stead under this pandemic. And I sat here and I listened to the people before me, the contributors before me, in terms of the appropriations we are now debating. And the Ministry of Health, incidentally, which is where I am working, is the ministry that is feeling the pressure or the brunt of being responsible for taking Dominica through this pandemic. Although it is being supported, we have been supported, the Ministry of Health, by other ministries, but it's the Ministry of Health, since it's a pandemic, that is charged with the responsibility of taking Dominica forward. So it is no accident, and it should not baffle anyone that the government would have to spend some money in the COVID recovery of Dominica. And don't forget, it was unforeseen that COVID recovery and that COVID expenditure was brought onto us. And we all know that dealing with a pandemic, we would have to get some extra funds because, as you know, we had to retrofit. The Dominican government had to retrofit part of Ross University down in Picard to house the people that were infected or are infected, and not only retrofit, it had to be staffed as well. So staff had to be redeployed, those working, and new staff had to be found to put in the COVID area so we can help our people recover smoothly. Because the Dominican government had the foresight, Mr. Speaker, very good foresight, very early, very, very early, before we had one case. The Dominican government, led by Roosevelt Skerrit, went to Portsmouth, looked at an area, located the area, and started the retrofitting of the area in case we got a case. So we knew that eventually we would have to use that area to house our COVID people. And hence, we know that once the people are there, we would have to staff it, because medicine or medical issues always need trained staff. It's not an ordinary circumstance where you could take anyone. You need people that are trained in that particular field to take care of the people that are infected. Hence, that was done, and now we are there. And not only that, it had to be equipped, Mr. Speaker. Equipment had to be sought, and with the Ministry of Health, through the government, sourced the equipment, and there is well sourced, equipped now to take care of the people that are infected. So it is no strange occurrence that we had to use some of the money, and that we had used, overspent some of the money, and that's why we are here today, to equip the COVID center in Portsmouth and to staff it. And the staff there, I must commend them. These people have been at the forefront of the COVID fighting for the past year plus, and they're doing it very, very well indeed. They're doing it very well. And Mr. Speaker, not only did the ministry and the government of Dominica had to deal with COVID, because in the COVID fighting, COVID is a pandemic, yes, it's there with us, but we also had to continue our normal health activities as per usual. And hence, the government of Dominica saw it fit to improve on the primary health care stock of Dominica. And you know of the health centers, Mr. Speaker, that were built, and we could count them from the south to the north of the island, and including Maho. One was built at Soufriere, Newtown, Bacatel, Coliho, Ansdime. One was also built at Viecas, Penville, Marigot, and Wesley. And not only that, a brand new hospital is also being constructed and is completed in Marigot. So all within this pandemic, other infrastructure is being set up to continue our health system in Dominica, because we know what primary health care is. The primary health care is what we know will prevent people from getting sick and end up at the hospital. This is why we call that the health and wellness centers, because you could be well and walk into a health center, get yourself checked, and be advised, be schooled on how to keep yourself healthy so that you wouldn't have to get sick and end up at the hospital. So health and wellness centers is being constructed all over Dominica so we could get our people continued health and they could access health. Because as you know, the motto of the Dominican Labour Party is health at your doorstep. We don't want people failing to access health care. Health care is available in every single village in Dominica, I can say that. Every single village, there is a doctor available on call 24/7 or a nurse. So it is always available, and everyone in Dominica who wants to access health care can do so. So the government of Dominica is zeroing in on health, because we know, and Dominica people know, that Labour Party government is a government that puts health of its people as priority. You must have heard the Prime Minister a couple of weeks ago, during the power handing over, speak of CNCDs. We know what CNCDs are doing to Dominicans. We know what it's doing worldwide. And we are putting efforts within the primary healthcare system to help fight CNCDs, even if we are fighting a pandemic. And that must be commended, Mr. Speaker, in spite of the fact that there is a pandemic raging through, the government of Dominica is capable and is doing that so, taking care of the pandemic, and at the same time, the primary healthcare system is on track, and CNCDs will not be allowed to creep in at the back of COVID and hurt our people. We are going to fight it alongside with COVID-19 at the same time. And hence, the government of Dominica found it fit, and we say in patois, l'argent bien dépensé, meaning money well spent in the healthcare of Dominicans. And that will continue to be so now and forever once Dominican poverty is there, and they're going to be there for a very long time, Mr. Speaker. And we all know of the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. We knew what was there before. When it was going to be built, Honorable Daru at the time was the Minister of Health, and it was thought by some that it would be almost impossible to build a new structure on an existing structure. We can see now that it's nearing completion. And not only is it nearing completion, Mr. Speaker, the equipment for the hospital are there. The MRI machine was commissioned recently. There is a HIFU machine available there, and we also have what we call the CT scan machine as well. So equipment for the hospital is present, and Dominica, by the way, was the first country in the English-speaking Caribbean, besides CAFA, to be able to test for the COVID-19. So when everybody else had to send the samples to Trinidad to CAFA, we were in Dominica testing for COVID-19. And the hospital is being equipped, it is well equipped, and the people of Dominica will be enjoying all healthcare investigations in Dominica. And not only Dominicans will be doing so, people from the other parts of the Caribbean will also be able to access healthcare in Dominica. So what was being done before, where Dominicans would try to Martinique, Antigua to do an MRI, people from other areas will be coming to Dominica to do that in the very near future. And that is what we are seeing in Dominica healthcare system. And the healthcare system in Dominica, I must say, should be the envy very soon of most people in the Caribbean, because it is well oiled, it is well led by a good prime minister, it is well staffed, and very competent people work there. We know of the various specialists that were sent to study from Dominica, born-bred Dominicans who went to specialize overseas, and who have come back to Dominica and working as specialists in that very same hospital. So the Dominica China Friendship Hospital is on track, and we are on track to continue providing health care to Dominican people. So, Mr. Speaker, when money is spent, you have to judge in a sane manner as to how it is spent, and ask yourself if it is well spent. And when you see the money spent in the Ministry of Health, in the supplementary appropriations, you must tell yourself that it is money well spent. It is money well spent in terms of keeping our people healthy, fighting a pandemic, and building hospitals and infrastructure for Dominicans now and the future. But, Mr. Speaker, there are other interventions there that are very helpful to all Dominicans. And my constituency, I heard the senator ask about the extension, the La Plaine apartment complex. And the complex, there was an issue, but now there is a drain being built. There is a contract awarded to a contractor from the area, and $154,000 is now being spent to have that water, because the water was flowing through an earth drain. And because of that sedimentation, but now a drain is being built there. I passed this morning, and work is well underway. So if she visits the area, she will see that work is ongoing in that area. We heard of the Daly's Primary School.
The senator.
Senator, yes, Senator Joseph, sorry. We heard of the Daly's Primary School by the Minister of Education. It is completed. That money was spent by the Dominican government in collaboration with the Caribbean government. And the Daly's Primary School is a school that was there. It was there. It was built in the 80s. And because of that fact, it was in a bad state. But the Dominican government has repaired it. And now the ambience for learning in Daly's is as good as anywhere else, if not better, than any part of Dominica, because it's a well-finished school. It will be furnished, it will be fenced, the yard will be done, and all equipment will be there for the school children of Daly's. So that is done, and we are happy for that. And we also see the completion of a Toloma processing plant in the Dalis area as well, because agriculture in that area is the livelihood of most people, and Dalis is known for its Toloma, and a new processing plant costing well over $250,000 was built there, and also a bay oil processing plant. So no longer will people have to go to struggle to process their Toloma. So all this is ongoing, and the Lapland constituency was not left out. We have our fair share of the pie. We receive our laptops for our school children and our college and high school students, and they're accessing the $10 Dominican government is subsidizing a $10 program with the NTRC. You're accessing that as well, and online learning is ongoing in the Lapland constituency. And the playing field in Lapland was fenced recently because, as you know, on the northern side of the playing field, there is a valley, a drop, so the boys would go down to the valley. It is now fenced, and now we are awaiting our lighting, as Honorable Paul said. So we'll have our playing field well lighted, and the young men of Lapland will continue to enjoy this, because we know Lapland is a place where sports is well part of our culture. So, Mr. Speaker, I am here today to say that the Dominican Labour Party government is a government for the people. And when you remember what I said earlier on as to where we come from in terms of our disasters, man-made and otherwise, we can say that the Dominican Labour Party government has been doing so much for so long with so little, they can now do anything with nothing. Thank you very much.
Senator Stanford, you'll use the mic on the podium. Yes.
We can go ahead. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Mr. Speaker, we have before us a supplementary appropriation bill amounting to $275,150,327.13. From the breakdown of these figures, we see 7% from grant fundings, 3% from loan fundings, and 90% from local sources. Mr. Speaker, for years, this government has lauded its ability to attract grant inflows into Dominica. But in recent years, the government has been unable to attract the quantum of grant funding from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, the People's Republic of China, and the European Union, among other sources. So to make up for the significant shortfall in grants, what we see is that the government is relying heavily on the Citizenship by Investment program. At first glance, one would say that it is commendable that 90% of the supplementary estimates was financed from local sources. But upon closer analysis, we see that it is the sale of passports that is a significant source of local revenue. We in the opposition have long expressed our disquiet and misgivings about the absence of transparency and accountability with respect to the CBI, but that I will return to on another occasion. Mr. Speaker, as we found out with the banana industry, it is dangerous for any country to put its eggs in one basket. This over-reliance on a single revenue source, that is the CBI, is dangerous, and it is clearly unsustainable. If we take into consideration the cost of the COVID-19 pandemic, as we now know what is happening in Africa, we cannot continue to use this political strategy at the cost of our country's economy. My concern lies, Mr. Speaker, in this question. Why is it that this administration can come up with local fundings to meet more than and $75 million worth of unforeseen debt, but do not seem to have the funds or the capacity to complete budgeted activities. For example, in the Salibia constituency, work on the agriculture station, zero progress. Establishment of the Kalinago Development Fund, zero progress. Establishment on the emergency facility community center, zero progress. Kalinago waste storage improvement, zero progress. Kalinago living history and museum experience, as in your manifesto, zero progress. And the East Coast roads, Mr. Speaker, is taking way too long. Upgrades of our playing field, zero progress. The monument for the Kalinago people, zero progress. Markets for our farmers, zero progress. Mr. Speaker, this is just the Salibia constituency, but if we have to look at it from a national level, you will agree with me that the list can be very exhausting. Mr. Speaker, members of this House may become distracted in the figure 90% of our local sources for funding, while the progress of the average Dominican is overlooked. Despite the size of this supplementary appropriation bill here today, the cold reality is that this government has plunged our country into an economic crisis not seen in the lifetime of most of us. While it is convenient for the government to blame COVID-19 for our present economic malaise, the reality is the growth engines of our economy have been on the decline for several years now. Mr. Speaker, the Kalinago people in particular, who have relied heavily on agriculture, history will tell you that the Kalinago people were a fishing community at one time. Then we moved into the cash crop industry. Today, Mr. Speaker, the main source of revenue for Kalinago people is the National Employment Program, where people are getting paid between $500 to $800 per month. And that program is not sustainable. There's no job security because they are on contracts which can be terminated at any time. Mr. Speaker, I listened to the Honorable Hosea Frederick, my colleague, my brother, and I could tell that he was not confident in his deliberations because he knows the reality in the Salibia constituency. And I'm very happy that he did not come here and brag about the performance of the Dominican Labour Party because he knows the truth about the Salibia constituency. Mr. Speaker, this government needs to meet their responsibility of representing the interests of the Kalinago people. This government needs to generate new revenue streams for our people, new opportunities for our youth so that they can enjoy life. Mr. Speaker, we, the indigenous people of Dominica, we do not just want to survive, we want to thrive. And I repeat that. We do not just want to survive, we want to thrive. And so it hurts my heart, Mr. Speaker, to look at these kinds of figures spent here today on unforeseen events when the promises of the made to the indigenous people have not yet materialized. I tell you, it's really hurting my heart. Now, I listened to the Honorable Rosalind Paul, and she said that our passports is the sale of our passports, the CBI program, is our saving grace. She used these words to describe it. The CBI program is our pillar. She described it with these words, the pillar of economic industry, our saving grace, the CBI. But Mr. Speaker, I have here in my hand a photo of a woman selling passports, large bulks of passports. And I have seen on the internet circulating around other photos of gentlemen, men, sitting in similar areas with these, our passports.
Senator,
Mr. Speaker,
Senator, it's not an official document. We have no idea what is the document.
Mr. Speaker,
you cannot
we'll
be doing
investigate.
that. Yes, you can't be
Mr.
doing
Speaker,
that. So, Honorable Hector John, you are disturbing your member. I'm speaking to her because you are speaking while she's talking.
Mr.
So,
Speaker,
Senator, so do not wave this poster. Just proceed with your presentation.
all right. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that the government of Dominica owes it to the citizens of Dominica, as well as to our development partners and allies, to make a statement on the pictures that have been circulating, which appear to show Dominican passports being sold outside supermarkets in areas of the world that harbor terrorists. Now, I want Dominicans to know, that the sale of the passport is not any signs of productivity in our community.
Again, you would have to withdraw the statement that in areas of the world that harbor terrorists, unless you would have to specifically say where you are talking about. But it cannot be a whole country. So you have to withdraw.
I withdraw. Mr. Speaker, I want Dominicans to know that the sale
Well, she didn't read the document. She just waved it. That's why I told her, yes. Yes, that's what I told her. So, yes. Yes. Yes, I agree with you. Yes, I agree with you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I agree with you. I agree with you. So, Senator, I would ask you to withdraw and cease from referring to a document that's not an official document, that unless you are willing to stand by the document, and if that is the case, remember I spoke this morning in regards to the standing orders. So it's just the rules. So I would ask you to withdraw from that. Yes. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. I need my time. I need my time. I'm finished with that point. I'm finished. It's a concern. It's our main cash revenue. It's a concern. It's a concern. How can you have your assets? It should be a concern because you said it's your main source of revenue. Mr. Speaker, will I get my time back? So why is he distracting my thing? Jeez, man.
So, Senator, that's why I said we have to be careful as per the standing order. So, you have already drawn the statement. I'm asking you, do not go down on that line.
Okay.
You are being ill-advised by members who claim to be senior members of parliament.
Mr. Speaker, I wasn't advised by anyone.
So you know what I'm telling you? So according
I wasn't advised by anyone.
So according to the standing orders, if you Okay, I'm going to ask both Honorable Danny Luge and Honorable Hector John to refrain from disturbing the Honorable House. I will also now take the opportunity to again enlighten this Honorable House on the rules of the House. On 50, Senator, bear with me, you will have time to come back on the floor. So, according to 53C, if such motion be carried out and a member be suspended, his suspension on the first occasion shall last until the next meeting of the House. And on the second occasion, for a period of 6 months. And on the third occasion, and any subsequent occasion, for a period of 1 year. Or unless, sooner determined by the House. Any remuneration to which a member is entitled as a member of the House shall cease for the period of this suspension. I am again guiding members that you cannot be disturbing the House. If you continue to disturb the House, there is implication for that. You see, I'm always guiding the House. I'm always guiding the members. So when members decide to continue on their trend or their approach, there is a penalty because there are rules. So, Senator, I'm saying that in your debate, you can say whatever you wish to say, but within the rules. So if you decide to make a statement as a point of truth, then if you are challenged, you have to present it. This is a dangerous ground unless you are 100% certain.
100% certain.
This Honorable House is not a political platform where sometimes we can just say things and roll with the energy. No.
That is from
No.
an agent's website.
So Senator, so this is why I've been very patient with senators especially, because I want to guide senators. But members who have been in the House for a very long time, on both sides, I do not need to guide them. So, Senator, as you said, you have withdrawn the statement and withdrawn the paper waiving it, and also the statement that members, either the government or people working in the government system or people involved in the CBI program are selling passport on the side of the road, you would have to withdraw that. So, you need to withdraw it to move on, to proceed.
I withdraw.
Let us proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I was saying that I want Dominicans to know that the selling of passports and the revenues that you get coming into the country is not a sign of productivity. It is actually liquidation. It's liquidation of our sovereign asset. You don't know? You need to do a little accounting, maybe. Okay. It's liquidation of our sovereign asset because our passports are our asset. And this signals, Mr. Speaker, an economy in collapse. It's like having a shop. I suspect you need some medication too.
Senator, continue.
It's like having a shop and not having any goods to sell. And you decide that you're going to sell your fridge that you're using to store your produce. It's an asset. The fridge for this sell is like, so this is what our passport is. It's an asset, okay? Therefore, we have to safeguard it. I'm just saying we have to safeguard our main source of revenue. Health in the Salibia constituency. The Ministry of Health, Wellness, and New Health Investment, we saw that $769,189,120.72 with 26 million on new resilient hospitals and 37 million, more than 37 million on the new Marigot Hospital. Mr. Speaker, the construction of health and wellness centers is a good thing. I applaud the naming of the facilities after the healthcare professionals who have made outstanding contributions to our country over the years. Whilst this government has been solely focused on improving infrastructure, this obsession has not been extended to the Salibia constituency. We, the indigenous people, are very proud that we were able to have built ourselves a state-of-the-art facility as well, with the assistance, of course, of Ross University and the Nazarene Church. And currently, this facility is being leased to the government for $1 per year. But, Mr. Speaker, with this meager $1 per year, how do you expect the people of the Salibia constituency or the indigenous people to maintain such a structure? To date, many of the cupboards are falling apart, and the place is in dire need of a facelift. Why is it that the Kalinago territory is consistently being neglected when it comes to matters of priority? Why is it that millions are being spent renovating facilities, upgrading facilities into resilient facilities, and the health of our people in the Salibia constituency is left abandoned? Mr. Speaker, we saw that over 26 million was spent on the modern resilient hospitals, with more than 5,400,000 budgeted for 2020-2021, which means that we went overboard by figures of $21 million. This is a serious issue, Mr. Speaker. It means that the person actually doing the budgeting has some difficulty with putting figures together, or it means that the person spending is a little too extravagant. And therefore, we need to look closely at our budgeting skills. And I'm sure that members on the other side would agree with me. COVID-19, Mr. Speaker, whilst these huge chunks are spent on infrastructure, the indigenous people continue to encounter setbacks in accessing quality health care. And I'm talking about concerns raised for years about having a medical doctor to attend to their needs. For years now, this request has been set before this government, 20 years. We have also had requests for an ambulance service to our community, but these have fallen on deaf ears. Instead, what we saw happening in 2019, vehicles being imported for campaign use, and also, even today, We see ministers driving around in government vehicles, GAs, and then the people of the Salibia constituency continue to ask for this service, but no response. Some years ago, Mr. Speaker, there was a discussion about the Kalinago territory or the Salibia constituency having their very own health district. And the minister at the time was the Honorable Kenneth Daru, and he's right there. He can't respond to that. What has happened to having the people be able to access better health care by having their own medical district? Wait times for health specialists, the wait times waiting to see a health specialist has still not been improved. It is still a major issue. People are waiting 1 year, more than 6 months, having an appointment to see a specialist. This is taking too long. The famous, I suspect you love my brother, you know, but he is committed. He's committed. I will tell him that. The pharmaceutical service, Mr. Speaker, is in dire need of an upturn. Many times the medications that have to be given to the patients cannot be found in the government pharmacy. So you know what happens? These people have to go to a private pharmacy to get these medications, and these often, it's very costly. Just 2 weeks ago, I had an elderly who had to buy 2 medications for $275. This is the reality in the healthcare service, Mr. Speaker, that we're speaking of. So it's not only about having these huge structures, it's being able to offer quality service to our people. The little things that will improve our service. Seeing a doctor, having the human resource. There's only one nurse in the district, and she's frustrated. She's threatening to resign soon. What's going to happen? Mr. Speaker, 2 of our nurses came down with the COVID-19. They had to be taken to the facility in Portsmouth. During these 2 weeks, the Kalinago people were left unattended. The people... You paid me to do that? The people were left without anyone to care for them. Those who could afford it, ask Mr. Frederick, you know what I'm doing for the people already. I don't have to boast here. Mr. Speaker, the people who could deal with it, they were able to walk or hitch ride to go to the Casabros facility, and the elderlies who couldn't do anything stayed home. In addition to the 2 weeks that these nurses stayed at the healthcare facility in Portsmouth, when they came back, there was an additional 1 week of waiting because there was such a long span of time to get a team to sanitize the healthcare facility. Mr. Speaker, about 3 days ago, one of our schools, the staff using the schools got infected with COVID, and so this school had to be shut down. A few weeks ago. And they are asking for a sanitizing team to come clean the facility. And they are being told that the government doesn't have enough funds to be able to help them to clean the facility. Mr. Speaker, this is the kind of challenges that we are facing. These are the tiny things that we need to fix within our healthcare system in order to have more efficient care within our system. I'm also concerned, Mr. Speaker, about the level of care that our elderlies are getting in the communities. And this brings me to speaking to the education sector. Because currently in Dominica, we do have a TVET Council. And the TVET Council proposes that we can offer certification to persons who want to get certified in geriatric care and so on. But for some time now, for more than 10 years, they have submitted amendments and recommendations, to this government to be able to amend the Education Act and the TVET regulations to empower the TVET Council to offer certification to the students. But to date, this has fallen on deaf ears. And it will not cost the government any money to bring these documents to Parliament and amend the Act. In comparison to the millions being spent on the education sector and not being able to actually invest in the quality of education of our students. So we're talking about vocational care. Having an active TVET council will be able to empower young people to be able to get good jobs after they are certified. For example, right now there are a lot of construction projects going on in the country, but the majority of our young people can only get jobs as laborers. If we empower our TVET council, these youth can get empowered, and therefore they'd better be able to secure better jobs for themselves and their families. Mr. Speaker, housing in the Salibia constituency. We saw that over $79 million was used for $14 million was used for land settlement and housing. And the entire housing sector, I think, let me just confirm in the estimates. Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, $79,212,752.20. But the people of the Atkinson and Antrizal have been left unattended. Majority of these homes are being built within the Kalinago space, and the Atkinson and Antrizal communities are also part of the constituency. Mr. Speaker, it also amazes me that over 14 million was spent on land settlement for the proposed international airport, unforeseen expenses. Yet, this government went ahead and built a housing scheme on lands which are in dispute with the indigenous people in the areas of Lagli, Concord. Mr. Speaker, for some years now, this piece of property has been in dispute, and the judge at the time who took the case told the indigenous people that you can either lease the land or buy the land. But the government has gone ahead and built structures on those lands, and therefore the indigenous people may face legal consequences for that. Mr. Speaker, can the government consider buying off this property from the Shillingfords and giving it to the Kalinago Council? Because for years now, the indigenous people have been living there. They have their property there, their livelihoods have been there, and they have nowhere else to go. I'm just asking on behalf of the people in Concord. Mr. Speaker, we also have seen housing projects in the Kalinago territory, but many of our local contractors, truckers, and youths are unemployed. We have seen it in the Kalinago territory and have seen it all over Dominica, that foreign contractors are being paid millions of dollars, whilst the skills, the capacity,
Yes.
and the willingness.
Senator, the minister is on his feet.
Okay, sorry.
Mr. Speaker, I stand on point of order of clarity. I want to have the opportunity to speak to some of the claims that are unfounded and clarify.
Yes, you'll get the opportunity. But please allow the senator to complete her presentation.
So, Mr. Speaker, this appropriation does not reflect the current reality of the people of Dominica or the people of the Salibia constituency. People need to have more money in their pockets to build their own homes,
5 more
pay
minutes.
their health care bills, bury their families, empower themselves for education, to start their own businesses. This is what our young people need. In the Dominica Labour Party Manifesto 2019, it says, and I quote, "The economy of dynamic Dominica must be built on our natural assets, our hard-earned gains, our creative people, our joint national effort, and our vision for our country and our future. Question is, have our actions reflected building on our natural assets? Do we give Dominicans the opportunity to flourish on their hard-earned gains? Mr. Speaker, this supplementary appropriation is not about the opposition, but it is an opportunity for us as colleagues to look at the numbers and each of us reflect on our constituencies and reflect on the people living within our constituencies and admit that we need to start doing things differently with the finances of this country so that our people can thrive. Having a better standard of living, Mr. Speaker, is more than just being housed. It's about earning a living wage, maintaining the home, and the ability to save for unforeseen events and circumstances. Before I leave, Mr. Speaker, I want to educate the Honorable Minister Dennis Charles. She has left. Because many times I have come to this house and I listen to my colleagues on the other side say that the United Workers' Party have done nothing, that it was the worst party ever, and try to mislead the public on what the United Workers' Party has done. I have taken the liberty, Mr. Speaker, to get the figures of the GDP, the real GDP of our country from 1995 to 2017. Mr. Speaker, from 1995 to 2000, the average growth of our economy was about 2.96% every year. Mr. Speaker, since this DLP administration came in, 2001 to 2017, the average growth of our economy has been 1.07%. Mr. Speaker, out of these years that I have researched, 9 of those years had negative growth. Negative 1.17 in 2009, 2011, negative 0.22%. Also, Mr. Speaker, I want her to know that the real GDP of our country under the United Workers' Party in comparison to our nominal GDP, Mr. Speaker, was way greater, which means that the cost of living during United Workers' Party reign was lower than the cost, the expenses of our country. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the figures under the Dominican Labour Party, the nominal GDP has been greater than the real GDP, which means that the cost of living in Dominica is way higher and that there's no productivity in our economy. Facts do not lie, Mr. Speaker. So I ask every one of you, all the people who like to spread propaganda, get your figures straight. The performance of the United Workers' Party is summed up in these figures. Do your homework. Do your homework. Get your facts straight. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
This is not working. This is not working. Yes. Yes, a minister has the privilege of being able to clarify. I'm going to get it. 41.
Seven. We just stop. 7. We just stop. You
What are you quoting?
41-7.
Yes. 41-5. A member who has spoken on a question may, with the speaker's permission again, be heard to offer explanation of some material part of his speech which he claims has been misrepresented, but he shall not introduce new matter. He must offer the explanation immediately at the conclusion of the speech which calls for it. So he's saying that the senator is saying or has stated some things in her speech that he would like to clarify. No.
I can defend myself.
Yes.
Misrepresented, but he shall not introduce no matter. He must offer the explanation immediately at the conclusion of the speech, which calls for what in Senator Sanford's speech misrepresented.
But the minister is on his feet. He has not said anything, but you're challenging him.
The minister should sit down. The minister should sit down. There's no standing order. There's no rule permitting him to stand.
He's going to clarify something he said in his speech. So I'll allow the minister to clarify. I don't know what he's going to clarify.
Mr. Speaker, you're wrong.
Let's proceed.
You're wrong.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was made.
Using the rules.
It was made. It was.
But members, you don't know, we don't know what the minister is going to say. Why would we stop him from clarifying? Why? But that's the only way we will know. But we cannot anticipate. So, minister, proceed. And hold on, minister. We are saying in this honorable house, Minister, we have the representative for Grand Bay who wants to clarify something before you actually take the floor. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So we cannot, but you cannot anticipate what he's going to say. Minister, proceed.
The minister was clear. He's rising to clarify certain points arising in the debate contribution of Senator Sanford. He
Yes.
said that, which he claimed were unfounded. He has no right at all to do that on the rules.
That is not true. A minister of government, listen to me, a minister of government can stand on any point of clarification.
Under what rule?
As a minister,
Under what rule?
hold on, we are
Under
going
what
through.
rule?
Relax. So let us hear, hold on. Let's hear what the minister has to say first. We cannot stop him before he talks.
Mr. Speaker, let the minister sit down. It's an embarrassment. There's no rule.
We have said it 41.5. That's one.
No, it is not. That's not what it is. Let the minister sit
But you
down.
don't know what he's going to say.
Let the minister sit down.
Minister, take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was made very clear by Senator Sanford that I was unable to articulate certain parts of the discussion because I was ashamed of what happened in Kalamu territory space. And in so doing, she proceeded to highlight that a number of initiatives were not done within that space. And I just want to educate her that we did speak about the emergency facility, the zero waste program, the Kalago Development Fund. There seems to be a misrepresentation.
Honorable John, take your seat. The minister is on his feet. He has a right to clarify in this house if something is wrongly said about him.
Nothing was said.
Take your seat.
The man coming to rebut to what Mrs. Sanford said that is not.
He's not in a debate, he's clarifying something.
He come to rebut what Mr. Sanford said.
I'm not going to debate if you take your seat.
Another very important point that
Proceed, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That the senator misrepresented the livelihoods of the people in the Kalago space, speaking to the fact that the NEP, which I spoke about, is the only source of income. That's not correct. And they are successful farmers. There are people in the public service. They are fishers. And I just want to end very briefly that no sister of mine would discredit the work done.
Minister, you cannot go down that route. Focus on the substantive matters.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to apologize on behalf of the Senator Sanford for misinterpreting the facts and as it relates to the representation and the work done by the government within the Kalinago space. Thank you so much.
And also you mentioned that under the NEP.
That's right.
The NEP falls under your ministry?
That's right.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Take your seat.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Can Senator Sanford be allowed to?
Yes.
Aspects of a presentation of the
No. We can't have a back and forth. She's not a minister. She's not a minister. And I allow the Honorable Minister to speak specifically to his ministry.
He did not do that. He attacked Senator Sanford and said the Sanford must have the right of rebuttal like he gave to him.
No, he did not. He tried to go down that road and I told him he cannot. Yes. There is a minister. I mean, so let's proceed.
Mr. Speaker,
yes.
I move that this honorable house be stood down. Mr. Speaker, suspended until 7:15.
7:15. It has been moved. Any second? It has been moved and seconded that the house be suspended until 7:15. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. House stands suspended until 7:15.